Alright, so today I'm going over a little project I have. I'm not 100% done yet. There's two little things that need to be done to it, but otherwise this is all ready to go. Now, the backstory is I got this 2 years ago from a barn, and it worked, kind of. This tube originally connected to, and I have it sitting, where do I have it sitting at? I have it sitting over here. A mercury switch, like a controller, a pressure regulator, or pressure controller using a mercury switch, is what that originally connected to. Problem is, it was ran into a junction box through the power, not like plug-in. It was actually hardwire. I can't use that because it just pops a breaker every time. So, and this is not the correct gauge, as the pressure reading for that gauge for that tank was broken. I had to use this old little, if it can focus, 60 psi gauge. Now, the idea was behind this, for whoever used it, was let's just make a homemade compressor, like air compressor, and it worked. But there was one fatal flaw: you could not store any of the air. It was immediate use, so there was very little pressure being put out at all. So what is the solution to that? Well, this old tank, portable tank, was broken. I mean, problem is that this piece here, right there, leaked air around the threads, and I could not get it to not leak air around the threads. So the tank would just lose air. Does this lose air? Yes, it loses air right here. It loses air. I have to put sealant on it and stuff, whatever. But other than that, this whole system works. What somebody did is they used a lathe switch, wired it up to this old bench grinder. As you can see, they deleted the power switch for right here. Deleted that completely off, right? That now drives the belt for this single cylinder compression motor, which would have had output up and over to the Mercoid controller right here. There is also a blow-off valve right here for if there is too much pressure built up. What I managed to do for this was, I had one of them, like, I forget what they're called. I think they're like butt connectors or whatever they call them. I don't know entirely what it's called, but I used one of them, and I think it's an end connector. I had this massive, and you can see that's what it is that one. I had this massive connector that could fit in this tank, but I had nothing else to work with. So, breaker bar, and this managed to seat in here enough to seal it. A little junction, which I ran I believe that is the female connector. I get them mixed up, which runs from this air hose through the system, so the air gets stored in this tank. I can demonstrate via little blowgun here, which I gotta move the tank over just a little bit for, and I gotta put the camera down for just a second. You can look at that fly swatter there. Well, I managed to get this in. Okay. So now what we gotta do is, and I gotta try and see this. Back here is this old plug. Stick that in. Okay, good. Cool. Now, come over to here. Don't ever put this in reverse because the motor's not meant to spin in reverse. And now we're generating pressure. This is a DIY air compressor right here. And this tank will now hold air. And if I also wanted to do something else with this, I would move this lathe switch over to here. I'd probably move this switch here, and I can actually reuse this pulley for some other drive, which I actually have it. And if I really wanted to, I could probably wire it. I could probably like get tubing and stuff and put it in there. This old girl right here could actually probably get driven by this motor as well. Now I'd have to check the directional things. What directions have to spin in? So right now this spins like that. So this would have to be turned like this in order to do that, which means that this would have to be here in relation to that. This would be like right where the switch is, almost identically. and then I'd have to have the belt run to it. Bet you it could work. I could have actually like two cylinders, but it's pointless to have that though. That's the difference. It's pointless for that to be here. But I just thought about that. That was something I wanted to test out for that. But things be things. Pull my little blow gun out. Yeah, I love this little single cylinder motor. It's a shame the greens come off here and it's coming off all over up here, but all over this thing, it's such a pretty color. I absolutely love this green for this motor. I feel like it's just because it's such an unconventional color for it, and I have no clue what this is for, or would have been for. I mean, this is the kind of motor you will see on your standard compressors, your gas compressors, that is. Usually on the roofing sites, you'll see them. They'll have the giant pulley and then a reduced gear driver from the gas motor to power this. Is usually how it goes. But yep, if I want to release pressure, it's really hard. This thing's tough, but there's also like no pressure in it at the moment anyway, since I ran it so short. So yeah, this is my homemade air compressor.